Today on MTG Unpacked, we're taking a look at the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Commander deck, Elven Council. So the commander here is Galadriel, Elven Queen. This is a green-blue deck. So let's check it out. Cast the deciding vote. So this is a voting type mechanic, it looks like. We have a 100-card deck with 20 new cards. Foil etch, display commander, 11 double-sided tokens, deck box, life wheel, strategy insert, and reference cards. So let's get into it. So these are going for about 50 bucks a piece. Some of the other decks have actually got some price increases, but I'm assuming they'll reprint these at some stage so you can pick them up for a little bit better price. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got here. We have a deck in here. Let's get that out, along with a bunch of other stuff. There we go. And a deck box. And we get these dividers, shiny dividers, along with some punch-out cards on the sides. Okay, and then the deck box here, this should comfortably hold a sleeved commander deck. Not sure about double sleeving those, might be a little bit tight. Okay, and then we have our life wheel here. This one actually works. Okay, good. So it goes up to 40 and counts down to 1. I did actually get the one from the previous video working. I just had to, there's a bit of glue in it that was stuck, so managed to fix that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here. Galadriel, Elven Queen. So we're doing some voting in this deck. Interesting. And some commander rules here in case you're new to the format. And then on the other side, we can learn a bit more about the commander here. Galadriel, Elven Queen. And we also have Gandalf, Westward Voyager. Okay, so another variant of Gandalf. And this tells you about why they are green and blue aligned. Okay, and let's get into a collector booster sample pack. So you're not going to find the One Ring in here. These are purely sample packs. Just a couple of cards to whet your appetite for the full collector boosters. So I've got an ad here along with a foil, Frodo Sauron's Bane. So this is the showcase version. And Frodo Baggins. Okay, 2 foils. You don't always get 2 foils. Interesting. Leave a note in the comments what you pulled out of your sample pack if you picked up one of these decks. And you will actually get different things than what I pulled there most likely. Okay, so we'll separate out the tokens. So this is our display commander here. We have Galadriel, Elven Queen. You can see thicker card purely for display. You are not going to be able to shuffle that into your deck. That may be considered cheating. Okay, so let's separate out. Where are the lands? Here we go. We'll set those aside and cut the deck down the middle like so. Okay, let's check out our commander here. We have Galadriel, Elven Queen. It's a mythic legendary creature, elf noble, 4/5 for 4, and it has Will of the Council, which you might be familiar with from the conspiracy sets. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another elf entered the battlefield under your control this turn, starting with you, each player votes for Dominion or Guidance. And if Dominion gets more votes, the ring tempts you. Then you put a +1/+1 counter on your ring bearer. If Guidance gets more votes or the vote is tied, draw a card. Okay, so the other people at the commander table have to decide as well. We got another one here, Gandalf, Westward Voyager, legendary creature, avatar, wizard. It's a mythic, 5/5/5. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, each opponent reveals the top card of their library. If any of those cards shares a card type with that spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy and each opponent draws a card. Otherwise, you draw a card. Okay. And next up we have Lorien Revealed, sorcery for 5. Draw 3 cards. It also has Island Cycling for 1. Celeborn the Wise, legendary creature, elf noble, 3/3 for 4. Whenever you attack with one or more elves, scry 1, and whenever you scry, Celeborn the Wise gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. Elven Farsight, sorcery for a single green, scry 3, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, draw a card. Woe's Pathfinder, creature, human shaman, 1/1 for 2. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour, and for 6 in a green, tap another target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. Learn from the Past, instant for 4. Target player shuffles a graveyard into their library, draw a card. Okay, so I wonder if that will be us, if we have any of the graveyard synergies here. Opt is an instant for a single blue, scry 1 and draw a card. Preordain, sorcery for a single blue, scry 2, then draw a card. Okay, Arbor Elf, creature, elf, druid, 1/1 for a single green, tap to untap target forest. Okay, so get a bit of ramping going on. Beast Within, instant for 3, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. So we'll keep a lookout for that token later. Cultivate, sorcery for 3. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. And Elvish Mystic, creature, elf, druid, 1/1 for a single green, tap to add green. Okay, here we go with the ramping. Elvish Visionary, creature, elf, shaman, 1/1 for 2. When it enters battlefield, draw a card. And Farhaven Elf, creature, elf, druid, 1/1 for 3. When it enters battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And Mirror of Galadriel, legendary artifact for 2. For 5, tap, scry 1, then draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. And Lignify, tribal enchantment, Treefolk Aura for 2. Enchant creature. The enchanted creature is a treefolk with base power and toughness 0/4 and loses all abilities. Paradise Druid, creature, elf, druid, 2/1 for 2. It has hexproof as long as it's untapped. You can tap to add 1 mana of any colour. Okay, so some more ramping in green. Rampant Growth, sorcery for 2. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And Reclamation Sage, creature, elf, shaman, 2/1 for 3. When it enters battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. Wood Elves, creature, elf, scout, 1/1 for 3. When it enters battlefield, search your library for a forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And Growth Spiral, instant for 2, draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Arcane Signet, we've seen this in the other decks as well. Artifact for 2, tap to add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. And Commander's Sphere, artifact for 3, tap to add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity, and if you sacrifice it, you get to draw a card. Lightning Greaves, this is a nice one. Artifact equipment for 2. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. So shroud means it can't be the target of spells or abilities. You can equip it for 0. That is very cheap indeed. And the ever popular Soul Ring, artifact for 1, tap for 2. Colorless, and you'll see this in all of the other commander decks for Lord of the Rings. Whisper Silk Cloak, artifact equipment for 3. This is another nice one. Equipped creature can't be blocked and has shroud. Equip it for 2. And Ash Barrens, a land, tap for colorless, has basic land cycling 1. We got Command Tower, tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Followed by Field of Ruin, a land, tap for colorless for 2, tap, sack it, destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Each player searches their library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield, then shuffles. And Raise the Palisade, sorcery for 5, choose a creature type, return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hands. So you're probably going to choose elves for this deck. Trap the Trespassers, instant for 3. Secret Council, each player secretly votes for a creature you don't control. Then those votes are revealed. For each creature with 1 or more votes, put that many stun counters on it, then tap it. So if a permanent with a stun counter will become untapped, remove one from it instead. Okay, so first part of the deck there. On to the next part. We got Arwen, Weaver of Hope. Legendary creature, Elf Noble, 2/1 for 3. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it equal to Arwen, Weaver of Hope's toughness. And Galadrim, Ambush, instant for 4. Create X, 1/1 green Elf Warrior creature tokens, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. Nice. And Haldir, Lorien, Lieutenant, legendary creature, Elf Soldier, 0/0 for X and a green. It enters battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Has Vigilance, and for 5 and a green until end of turn, other elves you control gain Vigilance and get +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Haldir. Legolas, Greenleaf, legendary creature, Elf Archer, 2/2 for 3 with Reach. Legolas can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Legolas Greenleaf. And when Legolas Greenleaf deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We got Mirkwood Elk. Creature Elk, 6/6/4/6 with Trample. Whenever Mirkwood Elk enters the battlefield or attacks, return target elf card from your graveyard to your hand. You gain life equal to that card's power. Travel through Caradhras. Sorcery for 6. So this one has Council's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes for Redhorn Pass or Mines of Moria. For each Redhorn Pass vote, search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield tapped, and if you search your library this way, shuffle. For each Mines of Moria vote, return a card from your graveyard to your hand, exile Travel through Caradhras. And Windswift Slice, instant for 3. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Create a number of 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt this way. We got Serdan the Shipwright, legendary creature, Elf Noble, 3/4 for 5 with Vigilance. Has Secret Council, so whenever Serdan the Shipwright enters the battlefield or attacks, each player secretly votes for a player. Then those votes are revealed. Each player draws a card for each vote they received. Each player who received no votes may put a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. Okay, so that is a nice consolation prize. Next we have Elrond of the White Council, legendary creature, Elf Noble, 3/3 for 5. Has Secret Council, so when Elrond enters the battlefield, each player secretly votes for Fellowship or Aid. Then those votes are revealed. For each Fellowship vote, the voter chooses a creature they control. You gain control of each creature chosen this way, and they gain this creature can't attack its owner. Then for each Aid vote, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And Eristor of the Council, legendary creature, Elf Noble, 2/4 for 3. Whenever players finish voting, each opponent who voted for a choice you voted for creates a treasure token. You scry X, where X is the number of opponents who voted for a choice you didn't vote for. Draw a card. So you can see this deck has a lot of politics built into it. Mirkwood Trapper, creature Elf Scout, 1/4 for 3. Whenever a player attacks you, target attacking creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn. And whenever a player attacks, if they aren't attacking you, that player chooses an attacking creature. It gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And Radagast, Wizard of Wilds, legendary creature, Avatar Wizard, 3/5 for 4 with Ward 1. Beasts and birds you control have Ward 1, and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, choose one, create a 3/3 green beast creature token, or create a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. Sail into the West, instant for 4, Will of the Council. So starting with you, each player votes for Return or Embark. If Return gets more votes, each player returns up to 2 cards from their graveyard to their hand, then you exile Sail into the West. If Embark gets more votes or the vote is tied, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. Song of Erendil. It's an enchantment saga. On the first turn, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. On the second turn, create a treasure token and a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying. On the third turn, put a flying counter on each creature you control without flying. And Lothlorien Blade, artifact equipment for 3. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature defending player controls. You can equip it to elves for 2 or everything else for 5. Model of Unity, artifact for 3. Whenever players finish voting, you and each opponent who voted for a choice you voted for may scry 2. Tap to add 1 mana of any colour. And Colossal Whale, creature whale 5/5 for 7, has Island Walk. Whenever it attacks, you may exile target creature defending player controls until Colossal Whale leaves the battlefield. And Devastation Tide, sorcery for 5. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Has Miracle for 1 and a blue, so you can cast this card for its Miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn. And Mystic Confluence, instant for 5. Choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. And Plea for Power, sorcery for 4, has Will of the Council. Starting with you, each player votes for time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, take an extra turn after this one. If knowledge gets more votes or the vote is tied, draw 3 cards. So you pretty much win either way. Next up we have Swan Song, instant for a single blue. Counter target enchantment, instant or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 bluebird creature token with flying. Asceticism, enchantment for 5. Creatures you control have hexproof, and for 1 and a green, regenerate target creature. So that means the next time it will be destroyed. Instead, tap it, remove it from combat, and heal all damage on it. Elvish Archdruid, creature elf druid 2/2 for 3. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1, and tap to add green for each elf you control. So there is some more ramping goodness. Elvish Piper, creature elf shaman 1/1 for 4. For a green tap, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That is pretty crazy, actually. Elvish Warmaster, creature elf warrior 2/2 for 2. Whenever 1 or more other elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. And for 5 and 2 green elves you control, get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. Next up we have Genesis Wave, sorcery for X and 3 green. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield into your graveyard. Heroic Intervention, this is a nice one. Instant for 2. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Hornet Queen, creature insect 2/2 for, 7. Flying and Death Touch. When it enters battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and Death Touch. Inscription of Abundance, instant for 2. As kicker 2 and a green. Choose 1. If the spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature, or target player gains X life where X is the greatest power among creatures they control, or target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. And Overwhelming Stampede, sorcery for 5 until end of turn. Creatures you control gain trample and get +X. +X where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. And Realm Seekers, creature elf scout 0/0 for 6. Enters battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it where X is the total number of cards in all players' hands. For 2 and a green, remove a +1/+1 counter from it. You get to search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Seeds of Renewal, sorcery for 6 and a green, has Undaunted. So this spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent. Return up to 2 target cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile Seeds of Renewal. And Sylvan Offering, sorcery for X and a green. Choose an opponent. You and that player each create an XX green Treefolk creature token. Choose an opponent. You and that player each create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. Okay, so we will set those aside. Let's take a look at the lands we have here. So we've seen this in a bunch of the others. We have Exotic Orchard. It's a land. Tap to add 1 mana of any color that a land and opponent controls could produce. Flooded Grove. So a nice filter land here. Tap for colorless. For green or blue, tap. You get to add 2 green. Green or green and blue, I should say. Or 2 blue. Hinterland Harbor enters the battlefield. Tap unless you control a forest or an island. Tap for green or blue. Rejuvenating Springs enters tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Tap for green or blue. Vine Glimmer Snarl. As it enters the battlefield, you may reveal a forest or island card from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tap for green or blue. And Lonely Sandbar enters tap for blue. Cycle it for a single blue. Thornwood Falls enters tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Tap for green or blue. And Tranquil Thicket enters tapped. Tap for green. Cycle it for a single green. Woodland Stream enters tap for green or blue. And then we have basic lands. So we've got islands, 11 of those, and forests, 15 of those. Okay, so we do have a lot of green in this deck, so that makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look at the tokens. So we've got a Star Treefolk, and on the other side we have a 3/3 Beast. And then a Treefolk and Beast. Okay, Treefolk and Beast. We've got a Treasure Token on the other side. We've got a 1/1 Elf Warrior. An Insect with Flying and Death Touch 1/1 on the other side. An Elf Warrior. Another Insect and Elf Warrior. Okay, Insect, Elf Warrior. Insect and Elf Warrior. We've got a 2/2 Flying Bird. And on the other side, the 1/1 Elf Warrior, another bird and Elf Warrior, and of course the ring. And the ring tempts you, so you can read about what that does here. And then we have parts of the turn and popular Magic formats. So another fun deck here. Lots of Elven goodness and a bit of politics thrown in. So you're getting your commander table to do a bunch of voting, and usually you will benefit either way, although not always. So this one looks like another fun one. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and stay tuned. We'll have more Lord of the Rings openings in the coming days. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.